Our Across the Aisle segment tonight. Okay, I want to play a little game for this one. I want to play Guess Who Said This famous quote. The quote is, "Those who enter our country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law. And because we live in an age where terrorists are challenging our borders, we cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, and unchecked." So who said that? Was that President Trump? Nope, no, it wasn't. Was that Vice President Pence? No, it wasn't him either. That quote came from then Senator Barack Obama in 2006. Now think for a minute how radical the Democratic Party has become on immigration in the space of just 12 years. Just a few years ago, Democrats were basically saying, yes, we support increased immigration, but we need to crack down on illegal immigration and make sure we have a secure border. Now, anything short of completely open borders and sweeping amnesty is heresy on the left. No wonder they shut down the government. With me now to break this down, history professor and author of Obama's America, Ian Reifowitz. Ian, good to see you.
Good to see you again, Liz.
All right, Ian, I am perplexed about the state of debate in our nation when it comes to immigration. It seems like we can't sit down and talk about the impacts that increased immigration or the impacts of illegal immigration or undocumented immigrants, whatever phrase you want to use. We can't have this conversation without being told that we are racist, without being told that we're bigoted, without being told that we are unwelcoming, without being told even that we're un-American, that America is a melting pot and that our ancestors came as immigrants. You know all the talking points, you know all the arguments. So I wanted to ask you, as a Democrat, when it comes to the Democratic philosophy on immigration, how many immigrants do you want to allow into our country?
I think it's a really good question. Certainly, we've talked about the idea of open borders. Democrats are not for open borders. Democrats are for a reasonable number of immigrants. I'm not a social scientist or a demographer, so I can't give you an exact number. If you wanted to say that the number of immigrants allowed into the country currently, legally, is a reasonable number, I think personally, I think it's a pretty reasonable number. Could it go a little higher? Could it go a little lower? I think that would be fine too. I think there are reasonable limits. But the idea that Democrats are not for border security is just wrong.
Right. No, do you have any idea of the reasonable limits? I'm actually interested in this because I think it would help with the productivity of a conversation or debate of the impacts of immigration, because we're told on the right that it's racist for us to want to secure our border. We're told that it's xenophobic for us not to want more immigrants to come into our country. We're told, if that's true, we're told that we can't discuss the impact that low-income immigrants have. I mean, you and I talked about last week President Trump's comments about bleep hole countries. The Democrats immediately painted the entire Republican Party as racist for those comments, even though they weren't about the people. So what is a reasonable number? What would that cap be? How many is too many?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure who you're talking to when you hear that immigration reform or that border security is racist. I actually Googled the quote, border security is racist. I found nothing other than one Fox News reporter trying to get people on the street at an anti-Trump protest to agree with him that border security is racist. So Democrats are not saying border security is racist. If we want to see what bipartisan support there is, we can look at what was passed in 2013. 68 senators voted in favor of a bill that added 40,000 border agents, that ended the diversity lottery, that significantly reformed what Republicans called chain migration, which is really extended family reunification. And I would have thought Republicans are the family values party, so they would like family reunification, but they're against it here, and that's fine. And Democrats overwhelmingly voted for that bill. So Democrats are willing to move. Democrats are willing to compromise. The overall number of immigrants. That's not what their actions show, though. That's not what their actions show. And just to drop one comment on the extended family reunification, that's a talking point I haven't heard before. Nice phrase there. When a convicted terrorist or a wannabe terrorist brings 17 people into the country, I do not consider that to be extended family reunification. I consider that to be a threat to our national security, and that is what Republicans want to stop when they stop chain migration. But when we're talking about this bipartisan agreement about securing our border, we're not seeing that. We just saw the Democrats shut down our government because they want to put 800,000 illegal immigrants and their parents who brought them here illegally before the safety and security of the American people. Chuck Schumer today said he's taking funding for the border wall off the negotiating table when it comes to Dreamers and DACA. And I guess I don't
understand why they won't come out and say what parameters is reasonable. Say, how many illegal immigrants do you want to come into our country? How many people do you want to grant amnesty? How many is too many? Because they're accusing us, when we want to set a limit on this, they're accusing us of being unwelcoming. Well, do you want completely open borders? And if not, then tell us how many you want.
Well, and how many undocumented immigrants do Republicans want to deport? If there are 11 million of them here, how much of a police state do you want to have to find 11 million people and deport them all? Look, we can each accuse the other side of taking the most extreme possible position, but you know that DACA, in order to qualify for DACA, you have to have a clean criminal record, right? Other than the fact, obviously, that you came across the border without proper documentation.
Right, other than
you have to have a clean criminal record. Right. But, well, obviously, if the answer then is you're going to deport them. So if you're not going to deport them, you can't talk about DACA and terrorists in the same breath, because the DACA people have a clean record. They couldn't get that DACA permit if they didn't have a clean record. So that's a really important thing to recognize.
Here's the reason that we can't talk. Here's the reason we can talk about it in the same breath, because I don't think that there are any Republicans or Republicans that I know of that would, I guess, be opposed to granting some sort of amnesty or legalization to illegal immigrants who've been here without a criminal record for a long time if the border was secure. But the reason that we have to ask for these parameters from Democrats is because they want us to grant this amnesty before we've secured the border. So what would happen then is we'd grant amnesty to these people, which would encourage other illegal immigrants to cross the border and come into our country, at which point the Democrats would want us to grant amnesty, or else we'd be this so-called police state that you talked about, going out and arresting these people and deporting them, and the chain would continue. And I'm asking, how many is too many? How many people do the Democrats want to allow into our country and want us to grant legalization to before they say enough is enough? They haven't given us that number, and I think that's reasonable to ask for.
Well, look, they should give you that number. I can't do it. I'm not an immigration expert. I'm just a history professor. But I will answer the other point, which is an important one. In 2013, all the things that you asked for were in that comprehensive bill. Border security, 40,000 more border agents, a number of other measures for security in return for a path to legalization, a very long path to legalization, which you can look up. So that deal had all the things you just asked for, and it passed it passed the Senate with 68 senators. It would have been law. It would have passed the House as well. There was majority support there, but the Republican Speaker, John Boehner, wouldn't bring it to a vote. So Republicans can't even take yes for an answer. That bill would have answered their concerns, and they still said no. So my question to you is, why did they say no?
Well, they said no because it didn't adequately secure the border. Anyone who read the bill or looked at analysis of the bill knows that. And you have to completely stop the flow of illegal immigrants. Border security has to come first before amnesty does, or it becomes the train wreck that I just described a moment ago, that it encourages other people to cross the border, at which case, what are we supposed to do with those people? Are we supposed to grant them amnesty too? Not unreasonable at all for Republicans in Congress to ask for border security to come before amnesty, but I think Democrats are neglecting to tell us a very key number in this immigration debate, and that is, how many is too many? How many people do you want to grant amnesty? And if it is unwelcoming for us as American citizens to have this debate and want to know who is coming into our country and why, then, I mean, I guess I don't even know where they want to go with this. They want open borders, I suppose, because they're not telling us any different. Ian, I appreciate you debating. It's always civil. It's always fun to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.